Hello, welcome to my podcast, Candidly Kendall. I can't believe that I am starting a podcast, but I'm super excited about it. Let me quickly reintroduce myself if you are new to me or maybe you just need a little refresher. Hi, my name is Kendall Hoyt. I'm a 26-year-old living in New York City. I'm originally from a small town in the suburbs of Massachusetts, but I moved to Brooklyn about 3 years ago. You might recognize me from TikTok or Instagram. I got started on social media primarily showcasing my thrifting, and now it's more leans into fashion. My social media presence started during 2020 when I was sent home my senior year of college and was jobless, had nothing to do, needed to fill my time and have a creative outlet. So I started my TikTok mostly with thrifting videos and some fashion, and now I definitely lean more into the fashion route. I am the youngest of 4 daughters. Hozier is my favorite artist of all time. My favorite show is Game of Thrones. I love anything medieval, fantasy-esque. I love coffee, fashion, thrifting, live music, cooking. But above all else, what I really prioritize in my life is kindness. Existing as a human in 2025 is stressful enough as is, and you never really know what someone is going through. But what makes this life so important and satisfying is our connection between one another and the love we hold for each other. Which leads into why I am starting this podcast and how I landed on the name Candidly Kendall. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably saw that I was deciding between a couple of names for this podcast, and I had a really hard time nailing down what I wanted to call it. I went through many iterations, hoity-toity, Hoyt Takes, Kenny's Corner, but none of them felt quite right. And also, so many podcast names are already taken. Originally, I just wanted to call this Candid, but there are a million podcasts already named Candid. So Candidly Kendall it had to be. But as most things in life, I think it worked out exactly as it should. Something people have noted when consuming my content is my ability to be vulnerable. And this is a trait I try and carry throughout my life. I think speaking kindly but honestly really opens the floor for everyone to show up as themselves. So I want this podcast to feel like a place where you can come and rest, like you're catching up with a close friend. A place where maybe you can learn something, we can have a little giggle, and you leave this episode maybe feeling a little bit lighter, a little bit more understood. As a girly with complex PTSD, I'm frequently anxious and on edge, so I really wanted to create this warm environment where you can feel heard, feel seen, and feel safe. If you feel like you've never belonged, you belong right here. You come as you are, and I will come as I am, and that authenticity will permeate. In terms of topics that I want to cover within this podcast, I think it'll be a variety, whatever is on my mind at the moment, something I talked about in therapy, pop culture events, political atmosphere, just general learnings that I want to share with you. And my hope is that you can relate or at least find it a little bit interesting. On a personal note, creating this podcast has been a very huge personal milestone for me. Through the majority of my life, people would describe me as shy and timid, and it's true. I found it hard to speak up and say what was really on my mind. So starting a podcast, something based completely off me speaking, would seem unheard of, but I've continued to challenge myself and flex those speaking confidence muscles, and so to actually be bringing this to life is something I feel really proud of. Since childhood, I've been a chronic people pleaser, and part of the people-pleasing curse is that it's hard to form your own opinions, which I know sounds a little crazy, but I am constantly putting other people's perspectives and emotions above my own, and since I've been doing that for so long, I actually forget about my own feelings and opinions. If you're a people pleaser, I'm sure you can resonate with the fact that you immediately want to soothe the other person. So when you just sit me in front of a camera, microphone, and an animate object and leave me to my own devices, that stumped me for a long time. Which objectively I know sounds a little bit crazy, but we all have our baggage, and people-pleasing just happens to be my carry-on. Even when I was ideating what I was going to talk about for this first episode of the podcast, I kept pushing it off. I wanted it to be perfect. I wanted the perfect setup, the perfect microphone, but as I constantly have to remind myself, my desire for perfection is slowing me down. It's limiting me. As a creative, you sort of have to dive into things head first and work it out along the way, and it's gonna be bad before it gets good, but eventually it gets better. Whenever people watch videos of me speaking, sometimes they suggest that I read audiobooks, which I think is absolutely hilarious. I'm a big mumbler. People very frequently don't understand what I'm saying. So if you all ever perceive me as an eloquent speaker or thoughtful, I feel so honored. Mostly because I think that's not the feedback that I've gotten throughout my life. But let this podcast be proof to both you and me that even if you are that shy little girl who gets picked on for mumbling, even you can start a podcast. I want to talk about Remi Bader. If you aren't familiar with Remi's content, she got big mostly on TikTok. She was previously a plus-size creator, then over this past year has lost a bunch of weight. There was a major shift in her content because previously she would share her fat experiences. She was a major pillar in the plus-size community and was a big voice for the challenges that plus-size people would face. So within this past year, as she has lost the weight, she has refused to talk about it. People were suspecting she had some type of surgery or she was on a GLP-1 medication, and she simply would never address these comments or actually block the people who would leave comments like that on her videos. But a new iteration has just been added to the story. She went on Khloe Kardashian's podcast. I didn't know Khloe Kardashian had a podcast. I'm not a Kardashian girl, where she basically admitted to having some type of gastric sleeve situation. Basically, they cut out like 80% of her stomach or intestine or something. So that's how she lost all this weight. Now, I don't have a problem with anyone taking surgical methods for weight loss or however they want to get there. I'm not judgmental of the weight loss process. What I am judgmental or more critical of is the lack of information she has shared with her audience. Now, there has been tons of discourse about this all over my TikTok feed, and I don't want to just be another person shouting about a woman's weight and body. That is never my intention. I think women get enough criticism about their bodies as is, but I do find it very interesting that she implied her weight loss was from her diet and all this exercise she was doing, because that is just so misleading and false. When you build your community, specifically the plus size community, off honest and relatable content, and then you proceed to evade this information for a year, feels a little shitty. What I want to add to this conversation and why I feel like I can add to it is I lost a lot of weight naturally over a long period of time, and I'm also a content creator. As mentioned previously in this podcast, I pride myself on my vulnerability and honesty, and in a sense, I do think it is owed to the audience a little bit. I personally just don't understand the desire to lie or not be honest, unless it's somehow rooted in shame, which I think there is a lot of that regarding weight loss surgeries. But here is where I think that the trouble is coming in, and we've seen this over and over with many of these plus size turned skinny talk fashion creators. When you are losing weight that quickly in such an extreme method, it really doesn't give your brain much time to process what's going on. You're juggling so many emotions and battling your inner perception of self, which makes it hard to have conclusive thoughts about this weight loss experience. I'm having a little bit of a hard time trying to articulate what I'm thinking, but it's something along the lines of people's minds can't keep up with this weight loss, with this extremely quick weight loss transformation. I think when you're losing weight naturally, since it's obviously going to be a lot more gradual, you're given the time and opportunity to juggle those emotions and work through what comes up, versus when you go the surgery route or the medication route, you don't have that time. And this is not me criticizing anyone who uses medication or, has surgery or anything. It's just something I'm noodling on, I'm picking up on. Anyway, I saw this trend on TikTok where people share small things that they have done that have drastically changed their life. Something that is inexpensive and easily accessible, that kind of thing. And it had me ponder, what are little things I do in my own life which I think improve the quality of said life? So I figured I would share it with you. Number 1 is going to be writing things down. These are all going to sound very simple, and that's because they are. That's because Everyone should be doing them, and for some reason I just was not. One thing you should know about me is I am a forgetful girl. I have the memory of a goldfish, and often I have a hard time staying on top of my tasks and remembering everything I need to do. Writing things down, despite it making me look like a 75-year-old grandmother, has helped me so much. Like physically owning a journal, picking up a pen, writing, it feels so good for my brain. I have this designated journal right here, just tons of blank pages, and this is my dump diary. I can put absolutely anything in here. I can doodle, I can put my grocery list, I can write a therapy entry, I can do an astrology card reading and write down my findings. So many things I can put in this book. The act of removing a thought from my mind, no matter how simple, it could be truly need to buy eggs, it could be something so simple, frees so much space in my mind. I feel easily cluttered and distracted and burdened by all of the thoughts racing around in my head, so just being able to get it out on paper allows me to process and move through my life that much more easily. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm not sure if it does. Let me read. Let me see if I have any fun entries. Therapy. Here I have creation over consumption. I have a lot of journal entries from when I was actively dating, but that isn't much happening anymore. Even just writing down some of my goals for this year, I had starting my own podcast. So hey, 3rd month in, not too shabby. Here is a cute one. It says, "Don't be afraid to be seen trying." And hey, if this podcast is me not putting that into practice, I don't know what is. A lot of these concepts I'm sharing are very simple. Like, oh, you're having trouble in middle school, the first thing they're going to tell you to do is journal your feelings. But damn, do these things actually work? My second thing that has changed my life and requires little effort. Walking. Boy, does your girl love to walk. Now, moving to New York has forced me to become a walker, and it is something I am extremely thankful for. For the first year I lived here, it was a real challenge to adjust to this physical lifestyle, but now I can't imagine my life without it. Walking connects you to the earth. If you're ever feeling stuck physically, mentally, spiritually, put one foot in front of the other and you'll be cleared up. I also have to say, walking in the city is a lot more enjoyable than maybe walking in the suburbs. In a city designed for foot traffic, it's a lot more friendly for me to get around versus walking on the side of a busy road where cars might not expect to see you. Back when I lived with my dad in 2020 and, everyone was walking during COVID, those walks were a lot less enjoyable. There wasn't a bathroom out 2 miles away from my dad's house. It was just sort of like nature and bush and shrubs, which has its own benefits. But hey, if I get thirsty, I can pop into a bodega. If I have to use the bathroom, I'll go to the park house. Another piece of walking that I've learned from my CPTSD counseling is how your eye movement as you walking can help you process trauma. I know this sounds a little crazy, especially if you aren't familiar with EMDR. Now, I don't actively take EMDR, but my best friend does, and I know a little bit about it. But basically, the person who created EMDR, Shapiro, discovered the potential of eye movements while walking and noticing that her own negative emotions lessened as her eyes darted side to side. So she tries to recreate that in EMDR. No, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, I can't speak to these scientific reasoning or benefits there, but I do feel as I walk, I am able to pass these emotions or understand them. I'm able to find resolution all while getting a little bit of exercise. And it's something that is free to absolutely everyone. Of course, being in a walkable city will enable me to do it more easily, but of course, not without its own struggles and difficulties. But get those feet on the ground, babe. I love to walk. I want to walk right now. My third thing, muting people on Instagram. Now, this is for my non-confrontational baddies. If you're a real one, you just unfollow or block. But personally, I like to have access, and I'm a little more shy about my dislike of people. But muting people is basically where you can choose not to see their stories or their in-feed posts, like being pushed on your explore page or your regular feed. So unless you go and seek that person out, would you be seeing their content? This is great for me. this is great because I get a little crazy. I get a little obsessive when I have a crush. I get a little insane in the membrane, but genuinely, specifically when I'm dating men, and I am forced to see what they're doing, I don't want to see. I don't want to see. Nor do I want them to see me viewing their story 27 seconds after they posted it. I'm chronically on the internet. It's my job, okay? But yeah, this sort of goes hand in hand with my next one. You should really just free yourself from the shackles of having to be reminded of people or get FOMO or just like see things you didn't sign up to see. It feels good. I think I have like 200 people muted on Instagram. Again, along similar lines, Do Not Disturb. What an amazing feature, Apple. You really cooked with that one. I love Do Not Disturb. I love not getting a million notifications on my phone. I think this also ties into me being a content creator and freelance social media person. I'm on my phone constantly, which is fine, but it's hard for me to separate work and personal life messages and other important duties. So putting on Do Not Disturb and choosing a certain time my mind feels capable and ready to manage those notifications has been life-changing. Life-changing. Also, sometimes I just want to be dead to the world. Is that allowed? Can I not be a hermit and curled up in bed and I don't know what's going on with you, you don't know what's going on with me, and that's how I want it to be. Not all the time. I just think the constant need to be on our phones and need for responses immediately is a little ridiculous. I don't think that's how our monkey brains are really meant to operate. So break out Do Not Disturb. It feels good. And the last thing I'll share, which isn't an inexpensive thing, but something that I've really enjoyed and have been doing for about a year now, is getting my nails done. Not only is it a form of self-expression, but to pamper yourself once a month. I love my nail artist, Impressed with Des. She is super talented and we are friends and I love to chat with her. But to have someone take such gentle care of you and perform this service feels really nice. I don't have to worry about my nails all month long. I get gels, so they're completely strong underneath. They don't break, they look good, and it's just fun. It's just fun to express yourself in this way. I think this is all I have to say for now. This might be a little bit of a short episode. Please bear with me as I work out the kinks of podcasting and figuring out my voice. I'm really excited to continue to develop this format and have further conversations about who knows what. Thank you for listening, for watching. If you're here on YouTube, please rate me 5 stars on whatever platform you're consuming. It's life-changing for me, and I love you, and I appreciate you. Okay, see you next time. Bye!